Now, if you had a chance to give your 16-year-old self some pearls of wisdom, what would you say?
Cut off that mullet. Our next guest has got you covered. Dilvin Yasser has written a book called Things My Daughter Needs to Know. She joins us now. Good morning, Dilvin. Your book is like a series of letters to your daughter, Chella.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's covering off life's most important milestones. So where did this come from, this idea?
Oh, it's interesting. I never set out to write a book. It's something that evolved naturally over time. When I was pregnant, I became consumed with the idea that I would die before Chella became an adult. And I thought, oh, my husband's going to have to teach her about what booty calls are. And,
wow.
And, you know, I was terrified. And I thought, what I'll do... I know, can you imagine? I thought, I'll write it all down, and should I shuffle off the mortal coil, she'll have it. And I'm a journalist, so I've interviewed lots of experts over the years, and I got all their best tips, put it in a book, and there it was.
Well, what are the top tips in the book, Dilvin? Because most mums pass on fashion advice, obviously.
Do that to your hair.
Yeah, exactly. But what are some of your top tips?
My absolute top tip is to be grateful for everything you have. It sounds
tip.
a bit hippie-trippy, but I just think that it's the basis of happiness. And if you wake up in the morning and you just take a moment to think, you know, I've got a roof over my head, I've got a full belly, and that's amazing. It doesn't mean you can't aspire to have more, but just to be happy with what you have, I think that's my major one.
Yeah, let's go through some of the other stuff you've got here in your book. Is getting a tattoo ever really a good idea?
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but they are hugely popular.
You don't have a little butterfly somewhere?
No.
So do you have a tip in your book about tattoos for your daughter?
I do.
What do you say?
I say, look, if you're going to get it done, wait until you're old enough to know who you are. Maybe wait till 30, because the thing with tattoos is they're great when you're young and beautiful, but you're not going to stay young and beautiful, and that tattoo you might have of a naked chick straddling a gun on your bicep might be great when you're 25. Not so when you're 64 and you're
when
picking
do you think
up...
your daughter's going to... OK.
Just in case she's that kind of girl.
You know.
But when you're picking up the kids from ballet...
Not so good.
Not so good.
Now, you also talk about body image, and we all know that is an issue for teen girls.
Yes.
What advice do you give in the book about body image and men?
And men. The first thing I'm going to say, and I think you will back me up on this, David, is that men don't care. If you start taking off your shirt in front of a guy, he's not going to care if you've got a bit of cellulite or one breast is lopsided. He just thinks, oh my God, she's taking off her clothes.
Something kicks in the back of the brain, and let me tell you, it doesn't come from the brain.
It goes back to your first point about being grateful, is it?
Exactly. Oh my God, I'm going to get some. This is so great.
I'm so glad you said that, not me.
That's it, right?
No, but it is true.
Anything else. And we're so hard on ourselves, so I think that's the big thing. And I used to work in men's magazines, and we used to get mail come in every week, and it was never for the size 8 models like you'd think. It was always the size 14 or 16 Bettys draped over their utes in a parking lot somewhere. Men couldn't get enough.
What magazine?
I don't want to say.
Were you reading the Australian Post in the 80s?
Whichever one it was, I'm pretty sure David would have read it.
But
okay.
they were
come on,
you know?
I've got some...
They love curves, and women need to be attainable.
You also give some sound advice on friendship in the book, and we all know that girls love to gossip, you know.
Yes.
But should you talk about your friends behind their backs? What's your advice on that?
Never, never. You know, your friends are the family you choose for yourself. And I think talking about your friends is a real betrayal of their trust, and it shows a weakness of character. I think if you have a problem with your friends, you need to actually talk to them face to face. And you know what? If you've got a strong bond, it'll be water under a bridge before you know it.
Dylan, I tell David this all the time. You know what? He doesn't listen to me. He just doesn't listen.
Yeah, blokes.
Oh, sorry.
It's a whole new book.
You've got a whole chapter aside just on men.
Yeah.
What advice are you giving about the blokes?
Just the chapter?
You could write a book.
I could. The ones I've dated, she doesn't need to know about that. But look, the first thing is, they say that women can fake orgasms and men can fake whole relationships. I don't know if
Who said that?
They say that. And, you know, that can be true of some men. And I think
Why do you think that is, Dylan?
I don't know, we're just very different. I think it's amazing we ever managed to get it together in a relationship. So the one thing I'd want her to say is, you know, if there's ever a situation where a man does something and it's in complete contradiction to what he says, always base your actions on what he's doing.
What he's doing, his behaviour rather than the words.
Exactly, because, you know, any man can utter an I love you if he thinks it's going to affect his chances of getting a little, you know?
Yeah.
But if he's acting like a real
idiot...
idiot...
It's all about getting a little with you, isn't it? That's all you think we want, man.
I know a lot of men.
But
yes.
Now, Chella, your little girl, she's only 3 years old.
Oh, she's only 3?
Yeah.
Oh, Chella, you got heaps of time. Go out and play.
But one of these days, she'll probably come home and she might have a ring on her finger. So what would you say to her?
Well, after I stop drinking heavily, I will sit down and say, look, my darling, the world is a buffet.
Oh, she's so cute.
Oh, there she
She's
is.
a sweetheart, isn't she?
I like to see her with a
Elton
tan on
John
that arm, by the
glasses.
way.
Oh,
I'm just going to say, look, the world is a buffet, and when you get married, it's like ordering steak off a menu and eating that steak for breakfast, lunch and dinner, day in, day out, until you die. Now, there will be times... I'm a romantic. No, wait, it gets better.
Truth hurts.
It gets better. It's true.
It could be good. What if it's a great, well, grass-fed steak?
That's what I'm saying, though, sometimes. And most
Mine
of the
has a
time,
lot of marbling, can I just say?
OK, do you know, it can be great or it could be a cold special. You don't know until a few years in.
Oh, hilarious.
But, and most of the time, that steak's going to be really delicious.
So many meat gags, so little time. Thank you, Dilvin. The book is called Things My Daughter Needs to Know.
I think it's a good book. You've got to go out and get this. I like it. This is going to be great.
Definitely.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Coming up, the hottest show on legs. Tap Dogs perform live for us in the studio.
But up next, we have the actors who've made the jump from the soapies to the big screen. Demi was one.